This GT Zaskar is a lie part 2.
That introduction was brought to you by Johnny Jr. I'm Johnny, this is Go Johnny Go, and here is the rest of the GT build. The frame has been sprayed up and has been left to cure for well over a week now. This is so that the paint hardens properly, and when building it up it doesn't get scratched too easy, because paint can remain soft for quite a while after you spray it. As you can see here, I'm installing the crank. This is a new part. Shimano 170mm front triple is going on this bike, and an 8-speed rear derailleur. The original front derailleur came with this bike and was giving me a little bit of trouble as I put it on. It kept catching the teeth of this new crank. And fortunately for me, it wasn't anything that my grinder couldn't take care of. I'm just installing the head cups on this. I did buy a special tool because I wanted to make sure that the paint didn't get scratched. The head soot tool was bought from AliExpress and was really good value for around €20. It certainly beats the old hammers and pieces of wood that I used to use. I have to say, these RockShox forks came up really well. They look excellent in that yellow, with the old school stickers. When all tied together with that zoom quill stem, it looks really nice. The yellow decals on the frame and the yellow forks probably don't match exactly, but they're close enough to get away with. As mentioned in the last video, both of these wheels don't match perfectly. The rear is a Mavic and the front is an Alex rim. They're close enough to get away with. Both have a black centre and a silver outer on the brake rim. I love this part of the build. When you put the chain on, it really makes you feel like the bike is starting to come together and come alive as you see it take shape. Now what I'm about to do next is going to upset some purists. These are a set of trekking bars going onto this bike. I know aesthetically flat bars would look much nicer, but this bike is for my dad and the aim of the game here is absolute comfort. If you've never tried a set of trekking bars, I encourage you to do so before you judge, as they are actually incredibly comfortable. I have just installed the 3x8 shifters. I really like triples. I understand that they're not very popular anymore due to weight, but they can really climb up anything with full luggage because you have such a range of gears. These shifters have V-brakes built into them, and as you can see here, I'm just fitting the actual V-brakes onto the frame and the fork. And again, maybe I'm a little bit old-fashioned, but I really like V-brakes as well. I very much understand that modern disc brakes are far superior, probably in every way, yet I like the simplicity of a V-brake. They are easy to set up, they're easy to fix on the side of the road, and they're also easy to disconnect if they're causing any real problems. For a bike like this, you probably don't need very much more. One issue I did come across with these brakes was the fact that this frame was originally set up for a cantilever, so it didn't really line up perfectly as regards the routing of the V-brake, but I did get it to work satisfactory in the end. On the other hand, the front brake was set up with absolutely no issues whatsoever. I do find myself being very fussy with brake setup. I like to have them perfect, and you can see here I fettle and fettle and fettle until I get them right. So I spend quite a lot of time getting brakes perfect, making sure the pads don't rub and that everything lines up and goes back to where it should when you release. I think this is a really important aspect of a bike. I really take pride in having brakes that are set up quite close to perfection. The V-brakes that I used in this build were actually the bargain of the build. They were about €3.99 from Bike24 on sale, and I just had them in my shed. I bought them as kind of an extra because they were so cheap, and I'm glad I did. They really suit the black other aspects of this bike. Just moving on to gear setup here, you can see that I'm adjusting the lengths of the cables. I'm testing the routes for the inners and outers to try and get an idea of the best setup. You can really get a sense of what the bike is going to look like now. And while looks and aesthetics are really important in the cycling world, what really matters is how a bike runs, how it turns, brakes, how the gears change, and how it functions overall. That's the most important thing of a bicycle as far as I'm concerned. A lot of hours went into this frame. The prep, the painting, the stickering, the lacquering, it all took a huge amount of time. So with that in mind, I really wanted to build this bike up slowly, properly, and get it right first time. As I'm going to give this to my dad for a present, I needed to be perfect for him. So let's have a closer look at the finished final product. You may be wondering why the cables in the front loop out so much. I envisaged my dad might put some kind of holder or basket on the front, so I've left some room for these, just in case. I'm really happy with the finished product here, and I did manage to find a set of grips that match the blue on the frame. Those yellow forks really do look good, and that Alex rim doesn't look out of place whatsoever. I'm really happy with the paint overall. I think it really has done this bike justice. I did manage to get a set of black pedals off AliExpress, again for quite a bargain at €10, and their stealthy look really matches in with that Shimano drivetrain there. Brand new 8-speed chain was used on this build as well, and I really do think that if you're going to build a bike to make it as new as possible, the fresh chain really does help. Although the drivetrain is mostly new, I don't think this is a bad project made out of old parts just left hanging around the shed that I've gathered over the years. I have taken this bike on a couple of test spins just to make sure everything was just right for my dad. I really do hope he likes it when I give it to him. Here's a couple of stills of the bike itself. I really do think it stands out and looks really good with those GT lines. There is something classic about the GT triple triangle design. It still looks good today and is very fetching and eye-catching. I'm Johnny from Go Johnny Go. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for a few more.